Well, I just finished Dragon Ball GT Episode 6, and it certainly was not the type of episode I was expecting from Dragon Ball. Basically, Goku, Trunks, and Pan land on a planet where everything is gigantic, and they land there because, well, that's where the Dragon Ball is. Uh, there are two conflicts in this story. One revolves around Pan being mistaken for Queen Bee, and the other revolves around simply retrieving the Dragon Ball itself. Now, I'm going to talk about the Queen Bee storyline first, because I feel like that takes place first, and it's resolved first, and all that. So, basically, Pan, she dresses up as a bee, with the fluffy stuff in the antenna and wings, and when she shows up dressed like that, I can't help but think, did she murder a bee in order to get those parts? Or did she are they assembled from flowers? I was very confused as to her just showing up like that. What else? So this leads to her being mistaken for a queen bee by a hive and her getting kidnapped. Now, what's a bit weird is that Goku doesn't seem to care about Pan going off on her own at all in this episode. She's Trunks is just oh, maybe you should keep an eye on Pan, and Goku's nah, it'll be fine. And then they hear Pan screaming later, and Trunks is oh, we should go rescue Pan, and Goku's nah, she's fine. And it's just Goku, do you have any investment in your granddaughter at all? I'm just that's just the thought that was running through my head. But let's talk the way the Pan storyline in this episode is resolved. It's just very, very quick, in a matter of very quick, you know what I mean? It's very anticlimactic, because the bees kidnap her and they take her back to the hive, and meanwhile Trunks and Goku rescue the actual queen bee, and then they meet up, and the way Pan escapes is that she literally just leaves, and that's it. And then the bees see the other queen bee, and they're all right, we'll just take her, and that's the end of the storyline. I don't know. And this is the first sort of episode where compared to okay, so when I first started, I mentioned my whole spiel about filler in episodes 1 and 2. In my reviews of those episodes, I was yeah, some stuff feels like filler, I don't know about this, despite the fact that there's I cannot talk. I'm having difficulty getting my thoughts out. But despite the fact that there's no manga, it's there's still stuff time to time where I'm this feels like filler. And this segment, this chunk of the episode, which is just Pan dressing up as a bee, it really felt like filler to me, because the main storyline is them trying to get the Dragon Ball from this giant, and it gets lodged in his tooth, and they pull the tooth out and get the Dragon Ball. But I'm just not sure what within the episode, just looking at the episode on its own, I don't know what Pan and her bee side plot really added to the story. It feels like it was just there to take up the runtime. You know what I mean? With that said, though, I am glad that the series isn't relying on combat in order to facilitate all of its conflict, especially when the characters are this powerful. This episode, both of the problems they encountered were not solved via combat. And I think that's good for the series, because it would at this point in the show, it would be difficult to envision these characters struggling against most opponents. At the same time, though, I can't help but wonder if this is why a lot of this episode feels very anticlimactic. You know what I mean? Like, the bee thing is resolved like super fast, and they acquire the Dragon Ball really quickly too. Like, they could have spared a bit more time to make the acquiring of that Dragon Ball a bit more climactic, you know what I mean? Like, there's a little bit of difficulty in getting it out of the giant's mouth, but it really doesn't last that long. I think they could have played it up a bit more as far as that goes. With that said, I am happy that this was only one episode. I'm glad they didn't try and stretch it out to be 2 episodes, because I cannot imagine an episode like imagine if the bee thing took up a whole episode and then the giant thing took up a whole episode. I don't think that would have worked out very well. So I'm happy that they kept it contained at the very least. But that's because the last arc that lasted 3 whole episodes, and I was like, okay, come on guys, move it along. This doesn't need to be 3 episodes. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Again, some of these episodes I feel like I ramble on forever, and then other episodes I feel like, I don't know if if I really have much thoughts on this, you know what I mean? It's a very simple episode. It's extremely simple, if I'm being honest. Very few characters, very little conflict. They just sort of go in and get the Dragon Ball within an episode, and then they leave. Something they mentioned at the end of the episode is that Pan has never seen a Dragon Ball before, and I'm trying to think, because I feel like surely they would have kept the 4-star Dragon Ball around because of how much sentimental value that has to Goku, and therefore, but I mean, Goku was gone for a while, so I guess, maybe Gohan didn't care much for the 4-star Dragon Ball. It was yeah, we could have this 4-star Dragon Ball, but that was the reason I kind of got kidnapped with the Garlic Jr., and then, I was wearing it when I got kidnapped by Uncle Raditz, so not a lot of positive memories associated with this Dragon Ball here. Maybe I'll just leave it alone. But yeah, so that's my thoughts. Was this the 4-star ball? I'm trying to remember how many stars this one had, but whatever. That's just my thoughts. Again, with all these GT episodes, I feel like I need to reiterate that I don't hate it. I did not love it. This was definitely a weak episode, I suppose. It really didn't grab me or anything, but I didn't there was nothing in it that I was ugh, there was nothing super egregious. I'm just wondering, I don't know if this arc is really gonna grab me, you know what I mean? We're 6 episodes in. I don't know what they're really gonna, if they're just gonna keep doing episodic adventures like this. I hope that, maybe they do something to just pull me in a bit more, I suppose. And I don't need edge of the seat action, because I'm not hating this, I'm entertained to a certain extent, but I'm just hoping that they maybe lean into really quirky adventure or tension. We need to, do this within our time or something, because I don't mean to be negative. Although, to be fair, I'm being way more positive than most people when they talk about GT, but yeah, it's not there's nothing in the series that I find awful that ruins the show or anything, but at the same time, there's nothing that's really getting me super into it. Which, to be fair, it's very early days. This is episode 6 out of 64, so I can't expect to be hooked instantly, but still, I do hope that things maybe pick up, or maybe a bit more drama, a bit more comedy, something like that, because these episodes are very dry in terms of like comedy and drama and action. They just sort of happen, you know what I mean? It's like, well, this episode we're on the giant planet, and that episode we were stuck in the dead planet, but they don't have as much flavor as they could, you know what I mean? I guess I am starting to wonder if like that is just the absence of Akira Toriyama, or the fact that these writers they want to like maybe do something on their own. Now, what I will say is that I do know that this Black Star Dragon Ball arc is different from sort of the other arcs in GT. From what I hear, they sort of go back to not quite a Dragon Ball Z-esque model, but more of a battle shonen model, if that makes sense, with the next few arcs. But we'll see how this one turns out. I'm not in pain. I'm not hating it. I'm just sort of like, oh well, it's GT, whatever, you know. So those are my thoughts for now.